Hi, welcome to the first video in my Technology for Hybrid Learning series. And for this video, I'm going to start with the very basic, how do you connect your computer to your Promethean display board? And I know for some of you, this is going to be complete and total review because you've done this for many years. But there actually are some of you out there who literally have not been in the building yet, and you don't know what the Promethean technology looks like. So I need to start here with how do you hook up your Promethean board. Now, what you're going to see in this particular video is what I'm calling a standard classroom, in the sense that the majority of classrooms in the school are going to look very similar to the one that I'm showing you. You know, the truth is we've had some spaces in the school that were never intended by the architect to be learning spaces that have over the years been converted into classrooms. And so the technology in those spaces is going to look a little different. Maybe there's a different wall plate than the one I'm showing you. Maybe you need to use an HDMI cable instead of a VGA cable. But the basic idea that you need to connect the video, the audio, and if you want to write on the board, the USB control cable, those three concepts are going to be the same no matter where you are in the building, even if the physical connection looks a little bit different. So I think this will be helpful for everybody, no matter where you are in the school. So let's go to an actual classroom and take a look at the connections.
You're going to need two pieces of equipment in order to make your connections. First, you need this hub that should have come with your laptop. The second thing you're going to need is a video cable. And for most rooms, it's going to be a VGA video cable. Now, this particular video cable has an audio cable built into it. However, you could use a separate audio cable as well. That's really all you're going to need in order to connect to the Promethean board. The rest is just making the right connections, plugging things in the right place, and you're going to have to find one more cable, but that cable is on the back of the board. So let's take a look at how we do that.
To begin with, locate the crestron plate that is next to the board. It should either be to the left or right of the Promethean board. You do have a second crestron plate in your room on the wall opposite the Promethean board. But for hybrid learning, we're going to want to use the one that's next to the board. As you can see, there is an input here for your video cable. There's an input for your audio cable, a master volume, and a selection button. In order for the audio to get to the board using this crestron plate, you're going to need to push the selection button so that the green light next to the button turns on. Next, take your video cable and connect it to the VGA. Your VGA cable has little screws that help hold the cable and support it in the wall so it doesn't fall out unexpectedly. Take the time to screw those in. They may not go in all the way, but as long as they're at least engaged in the thread, it should be fine. Finally, attach your audio cable. As I mentioned before, my video cable has an integrated audio cable, but you could use a separate audio cable. The next step is to use the hub to connect the video cable to your computer. As you can see, there are no screw holes on the VGA connection like there were on the crestron plate. This means the VGA cable can sometimes be loose when you connect it to the hub. This is often solved with just a couple of rubber bands. Plug your VGA cable into the hub. Then take a couple of rubber bands and loop them on either side of the VGA cable. This will keep the VGA cable attached, and so it won't come loose if your computer accidentally gets knocked. The hub USB-C connector is the same connector that you see on the power cord that goes with the computer. The power cord should get plugged into the USB port that is closest to the hinge of your computer. A little bit farther away from the hinge is the port that the hub goes into. Now that the hub is plugged in, you probably saw my computer screen refresh, and it is now ready to send the video signal to the Promethean board. Lastly, connect your audio cable. Again, my cable is integrated, but you could use a separate audio cable. Unfortunately, the audio jack is located on the opposite side of the computer from the audio or from the video input. Tucked behind your Promethean board, usually on the left side, there is a USB cable that connects into a little box like this. There should be a blue Ethernet cable on the other side of that box. This is the cable that you need to make the control connection. Unplug the USB cable and you can pull it out. It's usually a very long cable that's tied behind there. So pull out as much as you need in order to get it to your computer.
Let's talk a little bit about camera placement. Now, your computer is constrained by the cables that are attached to the board. So your USB cable that you use for your control connection is pretty long. That gives you some flexibility, but it's the video cable that's probably going to be the limiting factor. So when you place your computer, you definitely want to be sure that your students can see you. And if you're going to be writing on the board, you're going to want to place it so that the students at home can see the board. And you're probably, because you're going to have to angle it a bit. And let's take a look at, if you look at that, I can't put it like right in front of me because then most of the students that are in the room are not going to be correct. So I kind of need to put it off to the side. And part of that's dictated by the video cable. So you're going to have this kind of weird kind of angle on your board. So when you're writing on your board, be aware of where you're writing. Because the students, if I move my hand down, I'm still on the board. I've still got space here that the students in the classroom can see, but the students at home can't see. So make sure that you're aware of where you're writing on the board.
The other thing is, once you've got your laptop placed so that your students at home can see well, don't forget about your students in the room. The student that's over here, where the podium is in between the student and the board, is going to have a hard time seeing the board. So as long as social distancing allows it, try to place your students so that they're on this side of the podium where they can easily see the board. Also, look at the way I'm standing. If I'm pointing at the board, I'm covering up the webcam. So you need to be aware of when you need to point at the board, go to the other side of the board so that the students at home can see what you're pointing at, as well as the students in the room. This will take a little practice, so you may want to designate a home student to kind of speak up and say, hey, we can't see the board, can you move to the other side? Now, if you do have to use the desk that is over here, for example, that's between the podium to keep the students properly separated, then what I would suggest you do is have the students follow along on their laptop so that they can see what the students at home are seeing. That'll give them better visibility if you have to go over there. For most of us, we only are going to have a few students in the class, and we can utilize the part of the room that isn't being blocked by the podium. So that is how to make the connection to the Promethean board for hybrid learning. Some of the classrooms at Champe have a screen beam which is hooked up on the wall opposite the Promethean board. That is the equipment that you see on the left side of your screen. If you have a screen beam, you can use this to wirelessly connect to the Promethean board. However, if your room doesn't have one, you're going to have to do a wired connection. In order to use the screen beam, you need to go to the back crestron plates and press the PC button so that the green light next to the PC button turns on. Once that is operational, you can press Control K on your keyboard to find the screen beam and connect to your Promethean board. You still need to make the control connection, however, if you want to write on the board. So as I mentioned briefly at the end of that last segment, you still need to use a USB connection to the board if you're going to write on the board, so that kind of cancels out the wireless of the screen beam. We are scheduled in the fall to get the new Promethean display panels in all of the classrooms. Those are going to come with a wireless connection. So the thing is, if you don't have a screen beam in your classroom right now, or for some reason that screen beam isn't working anymore, I'm not inclined to buy more screen beams and spend money on something that we're not going to be able to use in a couple months anyway. I just want to make a quick note about the audio in this video. You know, here at home, I have a very nice condenser microphone, but when I was in the classroom recording those segments, the Google Meet segments, those were the laptop built-in microphone, and the other segments in the classroom was the microphone on the camcorder. So don't take that as indicative of the audio quality that you're going to get with that extra microphone that connects to your computer by USB. In the next video, I'm going to talk about that microphone in particular and doing the settings on your computer so that you're getting the audio through that microphone. So I will see you next time.